Welcome back to Radio Horror. Tonight here at WCUW, we have a distinguished guest returning to the show with us to talk about his Kickstarter, which has been very successful, Gothic Nights Revamped, and a little bit of the history of what Gothic Nights is before the revamp. Artist Tim Vigil on the show with us. Thank you for coming back on the show, Tim.
Hey, how's it going?
So, where does the origin of Gothic Nights start?
Well, the beginning of it started with the portfolio I did called Macabre Erotica. And within that, I was doing female horror drawings as plates. One was the Bride of Frankenstein. One was like a dungeon mistress. Another one was a vampire girl. And what was the fourth one? But anyways, the writer, Dave Barber, that I know real well, he saw the vampire girl, and he goes, oh, that's, he really liked it, and so we should develop a story around that. And that's where it began, and then we were both big horror fans and Hammer fans and Universal Monster fans.
Oh, yeah, like you've told me before.
Yeah, and we just put it together from there.
But it's not completed though, right? This is it's not been in print for a while. What's the story about, like, why it's been kind of out of the public eye?
Well, it was a 2-issue book.
Okay.
So it did finish.
It did finish, okay.
Back in like 94, 95. And with this new revamp, what we have done is taken the 2 issues. It ends the same, this story. It ends the same. But what we did is that we went into specific places and added material. And we even kind of changed up a little bit of the ending, because we just added like the townspeople going to the castle where they didn't before, just to add more action and stuff. And that was a chore in itself, because you got to go back into the artwork and doing like drop-in characters on pages that didn't have them before, or So there was a lot of little overlays and changes, and I was able to go in to the book and correct faces that I didn't like, and added a little bit of background in places that didn't have any. So it was a long chore. It took us, I think we started to do the revamp back in 2008 or something.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, it took a while.
Is it just because of your commission work and your cover work has been so heavy that it's kind of like I'll draw a little bit and fix a little bit, but I got to go back to the thing that's putting the money on the table? Right.
That's what it is mostly with anything I do with the comic work now, being that I'm publishing myself. But if this succeeds as a Kickstarter, I can pretty much relax a little bit maybe and do some more story stuff.
Well, we were just talking about some story stuff, but moving on from that for now. Here's an interesting question, because I've always found issue 1 a lot of times in back issues and things like that. But issue 2 I never find, or I see on eBay for a lot of money. Why is that? Is it issue 2 wasn't printed as much?
Yeah, both of them weren't printed that much, actually. Because that was right around the time when the market started to crash.
In the 90s?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got stuck with a couple comics. Not really doing much, and then not, what I was doing when I was self-publishing, when it started, which was real good, like say Faust, right?
Right.
We would do, like, in the beginning, it'd be like a 30,000 print run, but Diamond had reorders, and like about a month later, we'd have another 30,000 print run. So we were doing like 60, 70,000 print runs then. But when the market crashed, all of a sudden, there's no more reorders or anything like that, and nobody those comic shops just kept with DC and Marvel, and they didn't give it, a book that they've been able to move anywhere between 20 to sometimes, 50 copies, they dumped for inconsistency of getting it out, but also that they just wanted to go to the bread and butter of Marvel and DC.
The character that's in Gothic Nights, do you see that expanding more past this? And if I remember correctly, again, I only have the first issue. That's like a regular 22-page comic book, but the book that's coming out on Kickstarter is 226 pages. What's going to be packed into that people can look for?
There's pinups and there's covers and there's I will do like just single shots. Real nice drawings of the vampire, Tanya Ravnos, and all those are in there. Anything that I've been working on, some sketches and stuff, but the book itself, I think, was maybe 100 pages.
Oh, wow.
Because I added like 60 to 70 pages in that thing.
Yeah, I could tell. I mean, I was just like, when I saw it was 226 pages, I was like, I pulled out the one issue I had and going, this is going to be 12 issues or something, right? This is like a maxi series.
Yeah, it's a good one. But I put in, there's a character I developed way back called Mona Lisa, and she sits in the Gothic period too. So at the end of this, I added that as a bonus because I have plans to. Now that I've worked on Gothic Nights, I started thinking of a sequel. Mm-hmm. And I came up with a 5-issue sequel to it that involves this character, Mona Lisa. And she's a supernatural, your typical supernatural hunter. And so she's in the book and faces off with the vampire, Tanya Ravnos.
One of the images that really caught my eye is you have a Tim Vigil original artwork for Vampire Batman. I absolutely love that story by Kelly Jones, the original.
Oh, yeah. I'm quite jealous of that. I wish I would have done
it. That was one of my first introductions to like, oh wait, comic books are not for kids as well? What's this? Yeah. I was must have been 12, 13 at the time, maybe 14. I didn't know what Watchmen was. I didn't know what The Dark Knight Returns was yet. I probably had seen it, but just thought it was a Batman story. I didn't know anything about like horror comics per se as much as I did superheroes, other than like seeing Morbius in something once in a while. So my horror was regulated to movies and TV shows, so seeing a horror Batman was like an eye opener for me. So I gave
that was a good series.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're a big Dracula fan, so that was, a plus.
Yes, absolutely. And you're also homaging this entire series to the late, great Bernie Wrightson. I am working on a Bernie Wrightson documentary right now.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, we're in editing mode right now, and we're in legal discussions for, just to make sure we're clearing some things that might not cause me any trouble, but just... documentaries need to be protected as well, and we're not. There's definitely no defamation of character in our documentary. Everything is like praise. So.
Right, but you had to talk to the wife, right?
That's a story. Liz is just a long story short. Liz is not involved, but Jonathan Wrightson got involved.
Oh, the son, right?
Yeah. So. We'll see. I'm sure she's aware because she emailed me back one time saying, "Hey, message me here and we'll talk about it." And then I didn't hear from her, so we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. In the meantime, it's like I said, it's in editing mode. I need an actual product to present to people, so.
Right.
That's where we're gonna.
The homage I'm doing.
Yeah, go on with that.
With Gothic Nights was. What Wrightson did in his Frankenstein plates, when I was doing Gothic Nights, I sat there and said, I want to do that in a comic.
Right.
So I tried to shove everything into everywhere. The forest scenes are lush and deep. The castles are detailed. Then we get into Dr. Frankenstein's in it, so I did lab scenes that were just, took me, like a page would take me 5 to 6 days to do. And then one of them, like the last page in the whole series, was a double-page spread that took me 3 weeks to do. Because it's dense and it's detailed, and it's excellent.
And just as I don't know a lot about him, tell the audience a little bit about your partner on this project, David.
David, we met when I worked as a display artist at I don't know if you're familiar, but Tower Records.
Yes,
Tower
of course.
Videos.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Back in the day, I worked at a Tower Video, and so did he. And he found out that I did comics, and we started talking, and we both had an interest in horror, but also just sci-fi and everything, and found out he was a writer. And so I just said, yeah, let's do something together. And we worked on a story called Zero Tolerance. It was our first thing. And then when I started publishing myself, I published a book he did called Spring-Heeled Jack. And then we did Gothic Nights together.
What's funny is you bring up Tower Records. I recently published a book called The New England Comic Book Store Owners. It's about the histories of these comic shop owners here in New England, the 6 states. And one of the last entries in the book, just before it went to print, is a store in Cambridge. The guy who owns it, Rob, he used to be the media representation for like Warner Brother Music and Sony and all these other companies at like Tower Records and FYE and Strawberries and Newbury Comics when they used to be heavily more into music. I guess they are because they're into vinyl. Everyone's into vinyl these days. And Tower Records was one of his biggest clients for a time through the late 90s into the early 2000s until they went completely out of business.
Yeah, it was weird how they went out of business, but I liked them. I liked the place, and it was fun when I first got published. This book called Grips I did. They had at the Tower Books they had a spin rack.
Yep.
I saw Grips was there, and they had like 10 copies, and this is like first shit I've ever got published, and I was like, wow, there it is, right? And I'd go back there every like 3 days or so and see that it was moving. It was quite fun and exciting, and Tower became a kind of a landmark that helped me get stuff out there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I don't know the history of the film, but did Faust ever make it to like a official VHS DVD or something that you would find at Tower Records and go, I did that. I'm that. I created that.
I don't think Tower was around at that time.
Oh, okay.
But no, it became it's a DVD, but it didn't get into any stores that I know of that were like DVD sales or stuff.
One question that when everyone has seen any of the work that we've used for you, from you, for me, for Vlada in any way, some artists have seen it and said, how does he get this so detailed? I can't draw that detailed.
It's very simplistic in a way. And I just find that I have to put stuff in. It's hard for me to just do 2 characters and no background, or just put black back there. I'm trying to learn it, but it's hard for me. But detail, yeah, it comes easy once you do it enough times. Having the idea of what comic books is that you're supposed to get a page done like every day, penciling at least. And so you got to learn to work fast. If you look at artists like say Neil Adams and John Buscema and these guys, they were cranking this stuff out. And if you look at it, you can tell it's quick. And they were just masters at how they could put just enough information to keep you, to let you know what's going on and show emotion. That's where I'm going right now. The detail work, it was so intense that it's like, I think I can kind of go a little lighter on it now.
When you're drawing, do you ever Do you ever get like super frustrated with what you're drawing with and just kind of speed it along to make it look better, or sorry, make it look just to get it finished, or do you tear it apart and start over again so it's equivalent to your other work?
I get frustrated. There are times that I can't draw. You just sit there and go, everything stinks, every line stinks. You can't draw a face or a hand. You're just going, why can't I? It's like I don't know what I'm doing. But you keep at it, and then it gets back into a groove.
Do you ever feel like what do you prefer your pictures, black and white or in color? Because I think there's so much detail in the black and white more than the color.
I prefer black and white.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to say that to you, not, hopefully it didn't insult you, but I was just like, God, the black and white is always so much better.
I like coloring my stuff, but I find that when other people color it, it's not what I want. It's not how I envision it, and if you find that if you sit there and tell the colorist, well, I want a little bit more of this or that, because it's your picture and you're paying them,
right?
They get upset. They get all butthurt. Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. You can say butthurt. By the way, and then of course, there was when the Faust book came out, it did have eventually a retail edition. Will Gothic Nights have a retail edition for the retailers for anyone who misses the Kickstarter?
Not right now, no.
Okay, but in the future, maybe.
Maybe, who knows?
Oh well, maybe we could. Maybe we can attach something with another project coming up, vampire related, later this year in Gothic Nights.
Yeah.
Yeah, like hey, there's some, I don't know. Well, we can figure something out, like something to like I see that like on the different tiers for it, you can get a soft cover version of Faust Love of the Damned, or things like that. So
yeah, there is still some in stock with that, so we threw that in there.
Oh, that's good.
I plan on overprinting, so I will have some stock to go out to shows with.
That's good.
But there's not going to be like a cheaper version of it right now.
Gotcha. Well, Tim, thank you again for coming on the show and talking a little bit about this, the history of Gothic Nights Revamped. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.